Hello, excellent learners. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the course so far. This video is all about editing, right? Editing audio. You may have seen there's already a fantastic, polished, professional editing audio video from the amazing Toby Lawrence. But I wanted to offer the opportunity for a bit of a kind of down and dirty option, particularly if you're in a hurry, if it's your very first time doing any kind of audio, if you want to do it completely free. This is a quick and easy way, and this is my general way of editing audio for certain podcasts that don't require that kind of high level of editing and polished output, which not all podcasts do. So what you can see here on your screen is a program called Audacity. Here we go, Audacity up there. And all we're going to work with today, we're going to work with a bit of music audio and a bit of voice audio as well, and show you the few simple tools that you might want to use on Audacity to get your podcast ready. So the very first thing we're going to do is drop our music in. So I've gone to Audio Jungle, I've purchased some music, and what you can see is that this is all quite long. Okay, so we've got 1:30 up here. Obviously, we're just looking for 15 seconds for our intro music. So we've got to cut this down. Generally, when I'm looking for music on Audio Jungle, I've always got this in mind, the fact we're going to have to squash this down. So what have we got? And visually here on screen, again, you may or may not have seen what audio looks like. But what you can see is this is volume that we're kind of witnessing, these big spikes in kind of basic terms. So down here is quiet, gets louder, a bit quieter, and then loud. So this is the main bit of the music. You know, this is the breakdown, right? You know, in dance music or whatever, this is where everything drops out, and it's the quiet hands in the air bit, and or lighters in the air, and then the big drop, and then this is a quieter finish. So what we're going to do, we're just going to listen to some of these sections and see what's going to work. So up here at the top, you've got a lot of controls. Now, don't worry too much about the majority of these. The only buttons I'm interested in are these ones here. So pause, play, stop, to the back, to the front, and record. And then we've got a few here, of which I generally only use 3. You've got this eye, which is your selection tool. You've got a zoom in, zoom out tool. And then you've got a time shift tool, which actually I think of as really, it's just a mouse, right? It's for picking up things and moving things. So dragging and dropping. But so for now, we're going to make sure we're right back at the beginning. Click that button and we're going to hit play. Just so you know, your ears aren't deceiving you. This music has got some kind of fake vinyl crackle on at the beginning. So you're going to hear that now. But nothing too nasty. Shouldn't come through too badly. So let's have a listen. Beautiful. Hope you don't mind. I thought I'd let the whole thing play there, just so we could get a bit of a vibe for what was going on with it. So what we've got, you've got your intro here. Then we're into a drop here. By the way, I'm using the space bar as well. So here, at this point, you see we're on this select cursor here. So that means we can just drop around. You can see this little black line cursor appearing. And if we now press space bar, it will start playing from that point over and over again. So we've got our drop. And then, yeah, I thought I heard that. So you've got these kind of first two sections here, and then around here, this is a very common thing actually in a lot of music, but especially kind of dance music or this kind of music, which is kind of a hip hoppy vibe. It's going to build, right? So around here, you're going to hear it bringing the tambourine on top, just going. So it adds energy, but actually, funnily enough, as a listener, most people don't really notice, right? So have a listen here. Hopefully you can hear that on top very gently with some little jingle bells. That's a tambourine. So what they've got is a bit of an energy build. And then, so that's kind of 1, 2 cycles. Around here somewhere, they brought in a flute. So we've got our brass doing its thing. Bow, bow, bow. Then it's going to bring a beautiful kind of Yaz flute coming in somewhere around here. So let's have a listen. So although we're going to cut this down as much as possible, I said 15 seconds earlier, maybe 30 at most. I really just want to show you how this works. But what we still want is some interest in there. So we don't want to just take the first 30 seconds and put an ending in. That's where our flute started. So I think, we want to try and grab as much of this build as possible. So a bit of the without tambourine, a bit of the with tambourine, a bit of the flute. And then the joyful thing is here, right at the end, we've got an outro built for us already. So we're going to cut basically all of this stuff out of the. That's just gone. We're going to delete it, and we're going to grab some of this ending. Pretty decent ending, not perfect, but we can fix that as well. So for now, let's keep the intro. I think this sounds like a nice beginning to a podcast up until here. So we're going to keep that. And the first thing I'm going to do, so with this tool here, the magnifying glass, we can select an area and zoom in on it. If you play around with your mouse, especially if you're on a trackpad, I can't say if you're on a normal mouse, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but I can also zoom in and out like this, just using my mouse, my trackpad, sorry. So even though I'm on this tool, the selection tool, I can zoom in and zoom out. So let's take a look at these waveforms, because it's really important that we can kind of spot certain things that we're going to need. So this is all a bit waffly. It's hard to see, there's no real points, peaks, beats, drops that we can grab hold of. But as we get up to here, you can see this big flat-faced sound wave here. Okay, so I call it flat-faced. You can see why. As you come up to it, there's a flat face here, right there where my cursor is. And then it drops off slowly. So what that is, generally speaking, that is the sound of a kick drum or a bass drum, however you want to think about it. Doof. Those sounds start hard, but they have what's called a decay after them. So that is a decay, as it sounds like, it kind of decays away, it drops away. So that's why you've got this kind of triangle here with the flat side here and then heading into the middle. So if we play from here, we'll hear it should be a kick drum. Nice. And if we just play that, nice, doof, doof. So what we're going to do, we're going to split here at this very point. If we come up here, I'm going to have to remember how to do this, because I obviously having done this a long time, I use some shortcuts. But let's have a look. Edit, maybe. Apologies, bear with me. Clip boundaries. Tracks, no. Okay, I probably should have done this beforehand and figured out how to do this. Let's see if I can right click. No, I can't right click. Split. There we go, split. Sorry that took so long. Thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully the rest will be a bit easier. And there's my shortcut as well, Command I. So if I hit that here, you'll see now, hopefully you can see here, there's a line. Now, I've fluffed that up a bit. As I zoom in, I see that my cursor was a little bit too early. Simple. With this cursor, we're going to click there, and that has now disappeared. So let's try again. Let's grab this flat face here. So maybe it's right there, I think. And then we can either come up again, edit, clip boundaries, split, or this time I'm going to use my shortcut, Command-I, and there it is. So that is exactly as it sounds. We've now split that audio into two. So if I use my grab and drop tool here, I can now make a gap. So if we play this, okay, so there's a bit of a gap there, make a longer gap. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're going to do. We might not need that. The great thing, by the way, about Audacity is that it locks into place, it snaps. So if you watch here, as I drag this in, that yellow bar arrives. So I know that that's nice and smooth in. And if we were to zoom in, you wouldn't be able to spot the difference. Like, there's a lovely sound wave without, it's completely unbroken. Okay, so I think we need this first bit. I've changed my mind. I think we're going to get rid of that boring bit and we're going to go straight in with where the tambourine starts. So in order to find that, I'm going to have to zoom in and we're going to listen again. You can see here where it says quick play enabled. That means I can basically click on anywhere up the top to auto play. So I've shown you how to put your cursor down and you can either hit play or you can hit spacebar. Even quicker if you want, you can just click anywhere. So if I want to hear from here, I'll just click. If I want to hear from here, we just click up where those seconds are. These are seconds up the top that we're looking at. 22 seconds, 23 seconds. So we're trying to find where that tambourine comes in. Let's click from here and see when we can hear it. It's here. So if we listen here, there's no ch-ch-ch in the top. Nice. So we're going to zoom in on this. And again, we've got a flat face. So we're going to cut into this. And this is the essence, by the way, of audio editing. So you're seeing this sound wave go up and down over this central line. It doesn't really matter where you cut it. It's as long as you cut it in the same place each time. So when I made my last cut, if you remember, we made the cut exactly where the audio crosses from underneath the line to above the line. So I'm going to do the same again. So I put my cursor here, ignore the white line. That's probably where it'll snap to, but I'm going to put my cursor between the underneath audio and the above audio, and then I'm going to split it. Let's go this route again, just to remind you how we do that, and remind myself. We're going to clip boundaries and split. And you can see we've now got our gap here in the audio. So what's going to happen now is I've cut here. So we're going to keep this flat-faced kick drum note. We're going to wind all the way back to that first cut over here, about 10 seconds. And we're going to nudge that kick right up against this audio on the left here. Double click to select a section of audio. So there we are. It's kind of hard to see. Hope you can see, but there's a cut here just after 10 seconds. And there's a cut here halfway through. It's about 20.5 seconds. If I double click that bit in the middle, we've now got the section that we're going to get rid of. That's the boring bit. On the left, we've got the build. On the right, we've got the bit with the tambourine. Now, this is as simple as a Word document or anything else. If I want to delete that, what am I going to do? I'm going to hit backspace or delete, whichever you prefer. And again, because this program is very clever, it's going to nudge up that audio on the right. So this audio here is just going to be bumped and buffered right up to this intro, this 10-second section. Okay, so here we go. 3, 2, 1, delete. So that boring bit's now gone. And what was at 20.5 seconds is now at just past 10 seconds. And if you listen, fingers crossed this works, we're going to hear our intro again for 10 seconds. But when it drops here into that first kick drum, it's going to go straight into the tambourine. So we're going straight into energy. Let's see. Nailed it. Tambourine, right? So we've edited audio, but you cannot hear the difference. There's no gap. sounds too good to be true, but that's exactly how audio works. If you're sensible and you cut in the right place, so now if we zoom in, it won't be perfect, but it's small enough, minute enough detail. Yeah, so you can just about see. In fact, if I now click here, we can get rid of that joining line. I'll put it back afterwards, but just to hide that, you can see that that almost looks unbroken. And that's simply because we made our cut in the same place. We decided that we were going to make our cut exactly as the audio transferred from the bottom across that central line to the top. Just going to put that back in case we want to make another edit. Okay, so we've got some tambourine going on. What's next? We want to get that jazz flute in before we finish our intro. So let's listen from here. Okay, so it's kind of done it for us. We've got 2 bars. A bar is musical term for kind of it feels like a bit of a you feel a bar, right? I think in this case we're going to probably count to 4. So I'll turn the volume of the output down a little bit and see if you can hear me talk over the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar. 2, 2, 3, 4. And we've got 4 bars. So that's 3rd bar. 4, 2, 3, 4. Flute. So we've got 4 bars of let's call it the tambourine section, and then we go into the flute. So that's all good, but then it goes on a bit, and we want our whole thing to be ending around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way to the end of the music and grab this outro, and then we're going to have a listen to this and see where we can make our cut. Let's take it a bit. So I'm always looking for nice flat faces. This might not work. We might have to do something else. But flat-faced notes are the easiest to cut. So this is just before that kind of drop, that kind of high note on the is that brass? Flute and brass maybe there. So we're going to go and cut there and see if this is going to help us. Remember, just because we made the cut, so here we go. We're going up into the face of our note here. So we're going to cut right there as it crosses the line. So as before, I'm going to use a shortcut, Command I, and there we've got our split. It didn't quite do it in the place I wanted, but that's because these programs that they snap. Again, it's a thing. It might be a quantize. I don't know the exact term that they would use for it. But basically, it snapped. But we're in such minute detail here that hopefully it shouldn't matter. So we now know we've got this. So I think on a bar of 4, that is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think that's a 4. So we're going to go back and we're going to go and listen to our flute again when it comes in. Let's go. 2, 3. There, 4, 1. So let's just test this out. Yours might feel easier. I mean, cutting on ones basically 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's always going to be easier. But for this music, a 4 seems about right, I think, because then we can cut all of this and go in straight into the outro. Let's dig in. There's the face. So we're around here for the face. Dig in, and there we go. There's that bit where it swaps over. Command I, we've got our cut. Okay, now, sometimes this works first time, sometimes this doesn't. I did not prep this for you. I wanted to show you what it was like to do this live, and that you know, with a bit of common sense and maybe a few notes from this video, you'll be able to do this as well. So I've got a gut feeling this is going to sound okay, but let's give it a go. So this is the section. So we've got, let's zoom in, we've got intro, tambourine, flute, cut, and then outro. let's hope this works, but it might not. Bear with me. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. Okay. Let's come back a little bit. It worked. Absolutely beautiful. As I thought, that was the fourth note. I'd figured it out correctly. Well done, me. So we've now got a really nice, smooth intro, punchy bit of music, and then an outro. But we're not quite done. It's a bit long for my liking. And actually, this kind of stuttered outro, I don't particularly like. Have a listen. So we're going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to try and figure out how. So we're going to see if we can cut this. It's not a hard-faced note, so we're going to have to make a decision where we're going to cut this. And I'm going to try the peak. So as you can see here from this note, this bit here, that's the highest point that we can see. As we zoom in, you'll see that in more detail. So I'm going to move this. When you're moving this cursor, so this cursor here that we've dropped down, when you want to move it at detail, you can use your cursors on your keyboard. So I'm using, tap, 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 left, 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 right, right, right. So let's get this in here and just tap that onto the highest note. Shortcut and cut. Okay. Shortcut for the cut. So we split that. So that's this might be a bit sticky, but let's keep. I'm just going to give this a go. I'm not convinced, but what I was trying to do there was get rid of that before it went. A nice little kind of. I don't know how better to put it. We're going to see if this works. Let's just roll it together and see. Yes. And I hate that. Right. So we'll come to that in a second. But I think this all now works. Okay. So we've got nice flute. Amazing. So what we need to think here, the reason I hate this stab at the end is because this is the beginning of our podcast, right? We're about to start talking. And the way these things sound really professional is if we can find a way to talk over that outro of our music. So I just think this bit's going to get in the way. I think we need to finish it here and forget that last bit. So it's as simple as this. We're just going to delete it. By the way, it's something I guess I could have explained at the beginning, but I wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of it. You might be wondering why we're looking at two lots of music. It's something we don't really need to get into too much, but what you find is that most audio, music audio, that is recorded in stereo. Stereo meaning two tracks. It's the same reason you always have two speakers. Okay, so you've got one in the left of your car and one in the right, or you've got if you have a big kind of like an old school CD unit, or even like a kind of ghetto blast, there's always two speakers. And that's because music is recorded in left and right. And the reason it's recorded in left and right is so that we can there's all kinds of fancy words for it. I heard the phrase audio landscaping once, but the ones that you might know is panning. Panning, you pan to the left, you pan to the right. And really what it does, it allows us to position audio so it sounds more realistic. So if you imagine you were watching a band live, with the bass player on your left and the guitarist on your right, the singer in the middle and the drummer behind them, then when you listen to them recorded, you kind of can rebuild that experience. You can pan the bass one side. We generally don't. We do normally keep bass drums in the middle, but you can pan maybe one guitarist off to the right, one guitarist to the left, you have the vocalist in the middle, and it just, without you realizing it, you'll find that kind of slightly live vibe to it. And that's really what stereo is there for. Funnily enough, if you ever listen to some music, especially some kind of rock music with just one earphone in, and you might notice just things missing because they're only in one ear, so they're only on the left or the right. But for this purpose, we don't treat it any differently. You can't, in fact. There are ways of splitting left from right, but we treat them the same. So when I hit delete once, or when I highlight one side, it highlights both sides, left and right. Simple as that. So I hope that wasn't boring or unnecessary, but I wanted to explain why you can see the music twice, and that's why. Not everything is in stereo. Stereo is reserved for kind of when you've recorded an ensemble. You'll see in a second when you record from your microphone, it will probably come in mono, as in monobrow, monorail, just one channel. So we'll see that in a second. But for now, let's get rid of this. That's another thing you can do, by the way, is you can highlight the bit you want to hear. And press your space bar or play button and just hear that. So how do we get rid of it? We highlight it and we hit the delete button. It's as simple as that. So let's now listen to our entire intro. It's exactly 30 seconds, so apologies, it's twice as long as I suggested. If you really wanted to pull it down, then what we could do is get rid of, one bar of tambourine section and one bar of flute and make it even shorter, which we do in a second. Actually, let's do it. Okay, so let's hear it first and then decide if we want to shorten it. Nice. Okay, so let's shorten this down one more time. See if we can get somewhere nearer the quicker kind of intro music that I'm after. So I'm going to get rid of the first. So as we know, there's 2 bars of tambourine, 2 bars of flute. So I'm going to get rid of the first bar of tambourine. So that started here. Okay, that's where the second one starts. So we're going to zoom in. And we're going to make our cut, hard face, cut across the line, and there we go. So that's that gone, and then we're going to double click and delete. I'm going a bit faster this time. So now we're going to go straight in. Let's make sure it still works. It did not. Okay, what went wrong there? That's why I cut off all 4. I cut off both bars rather than one. Okay, so we should count 4. Remember, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's going to be difficult to cut, unfortunately, because it's a swung note. Let's have a look, see if we can cut somewhere else. Let's cut from 4 to 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I'm going to do the same as we did with the flute earlier. I'm going to cut from the 4th beat in the bar. It's going to be a little bit easier, I think. So hopefully this will work. So got 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we're doing is we're cutting out the middle of our 2 bars rather than just one of them individually. No need to get this complex if needs be, but let's again, your music may be simpler or maybe it's more complex and you need to give me a shout and I'll help you figure it out. But let's see if we can cut that out and what that does. This isn't working, is it? I get it. I see the problem. Cut from there. Let's try this guy. If I don't get it now, I'm going to crack on because I was supposed to. This was going to show you how to edit at speed and trim things down, but I don't want to cut into your time too much more. So let's get rid. So we're keeping that. We're deleting this. I think through to. Let's delete that, and delete this. Let's see. Cross your fingers for me. Yes. Okay, we did it. So here's the beginning of our flute. Let's put a cut in there just in case. We're here. You know, we might as well put a cut in. Doesn't mean we're going to use it. Cut. We're going to cut half of this. Okay, there's the second half. In. So now this may now sound a bit brash and a bit short, but we're going to do it anyway because earlier on in the course I said we should be doing our intros about 15 seconds. So there we go. I've set myself a challenge. Let's see how this section now sounds. It's not enough flute really, but I'm going to leave it because we're done there. And then we're going to just cut in a little bit over here because I don't think we need all of this intro. So let's just go there. Let's just start from here, shall we? Or here. Yes. Oh, that's nice. Here we go. So we can see a little bit of a flat face here. That's where we're going to make our cut. I did that off screen, but there's our cut. I'm going to get rid of this intro bit. Oh, look at this. 15 seconds is right there, and we're going to be able to talk on about 16, 17 seconds. This is amazing. Okay, here we go. Let's give this a play. Not bad at all. I wish I'd left some more flute in for you, but this is a tutorial. I'm not making an actual intro for a podcast here, so we're going to leave it. Okay, so we've got our intro music. Now, the first thing I would say to you to do is now export this. So File, Export as MP3, and save that somewhere, because you don't want to do this every time you edit a podcast episode. Okay, that's no fun. You want to be doing this. Where are we? Oh, desktop, ZTP, audio. There we go. Save. And then just leave. You can either clear if there might be some values in these bits. Hit clear and save. So it's done it already. It saved it really, really quickly. We've got an MP3 of that piece of audio. So next time you go and make your podcast episode, or actually we're going to need this music at the end, you can just drag it in and drag and drop, and it'll be there for you. Save it somewhere so you don't go through this rigmarole over and over again. Okay, next up, what you would probably normally do, actually, at this point, I'm just going to, let's just create a new project for a second. Normally, you would plug your microphone in, test it. I'm sure you've done this already, right? We've set up you must have done, right? So your audio is probably recorded in here somewhere already in Audacity or wherever you chose to record it. So again, you're going to export it as MP3. And so normally, you're going to see these things bouncing around up here. Record your audio. It's going to come along here. So then export that as an MP3 as well, because what we want to do when we're doing our edit is drag and drop things in. So let's pretend that we haven't just made our audio and drag it in. So now you can see here's our edited one with all our cuts and splices. This is now just a single lovely piece of audio with our intro on it. So this is now your norm, okay? So this job, cut and splice, you do that once and save it. This is now how you make your normal podcast episode. Drag your intro music in. And then you're going to drag and drop your audio in. So wherever you've recorded it, I actually recorded this audio on almost like a dictaphone, a kind of modern digital dictaphone, just for speed and for haste. And as you can see, it's come right to the beginning here as well. So here's a couple of buttons you might need to know about: mute and solo. So if I solo this and I now press play, well, if I don't mute it, then this left and right audio is going to play at the same time as this left and right audio. As I said, normally voice, your microphone will probably come in as a single channel, which is mono. Mine has come in as stereo. Sorry for misleading you, because I used the dictaphone I used actually has two microphones on it, so there is one left and one right. It's quite a clever thing called a Zoom. What is it? A Zoom H4n. If you want to look it up, it's a really good dictaphone. Zoom H4n. So if we play this at the same time, then this music's going to play at the same time as my voice. That's no good. Can't really hear it, but it's no good. So obviously what we first want to do is have a quick listen to our audio, make sure it sounds okay. Hi there, and welcome to the Zero to Podcaster test podcast audio. Lovely, that's very nice. So you can do that by muting or soloing, of course. Once you've got lots of channels, so this is called a channel. This is channel 2. You might want to use the solo button to just listen to one, or you might want to use the mute button to silence one in particular. But they basically do the same thing, right? So we want to decide where our audio is going to move to. So I've just come up here. We were on the cursor for moving that around. This is your pick up audio and drag it around. So we literally pick this up and slide it. So for the moment, I'm just going to put it here, right at the end. So as we know, this is our progressive play line. So just as the music ends, I'm going to start talking. Hi there, and welcome to the Zero to... That's a bit too much of a gap for me. So we'll fix that, but we're going to fix it later, because what I want to show you first is how we're going to make this audio sound nicer. So there are two things that we're looking for here. First of all, content, and then audio quality. So content quality and audio quality. So this is how you might delete things from your audio, okay? So let's play from here and listen for some bits that we want to get rid of. We're looking for coughs and splutters, and I did a fake cough, I think, just for you. Some ums and ahs, and maybe a whole section that we want to get rid of. Hi there, and welcome to the Zero to Podcaster test podcast audio. The purpose of this audio is to drop it into Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. Some of this audio is going to be deleted, and the rest will be kept. But thank you. But thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Okay, so there's a whole section in the middle here where I ummed and ahed for you and said some of this section is going to be deleted. So we're going to get rid of that whole section. Let's listen to it first. But thank you. These are the kind of noises you need to look out for. Here, you can hear me going tutting, right? That's a noise a lot of people make when they're talking. Just when they open their mouth, they go, well, I'm not sure, that noise. Listen out for that. But thank you. Mouth noises like that, you can get away with a certain amount. Same with ums and ahs. But when you're, in someone's ear, as we often are with podcasting, it's nice to try and get rid of as many as possible. So this can be quite a mammoth task. When you record your audio, it's best to try and avoid it. Avoid umming and ahhing. It's very difficult when you're freestyling. I've probably done, 50 to 100 ums and ahs in this video alone. But it's a little bit less obvious when you're doing a video like this, when there's something visual to distract you as well. So that's the first thing. We're going to delete that entire section and see what we've got. Gone, because it was nonsense. That was the bit I intentionally recorded, so we can delete. Let's go back to the beginning. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster test podcast audio. The purpose of this audio is to drop it into Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. But thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. So we've got a couple of things I still want to get rid of there. There's a but. But thank you so much. Don't know why I said but. Let's see if we can get rid of that. So we're going to zoom in, and we're now looking at individual syllables. These bumps are pretty much syllables. But thank you so much. So much. Okay, so let's get rid of the but. But I'm going to get rid of it. You can go tight on it like this, but I don't know why. I tend to, you can really see that the audio disappears to nothing here and from here on that top line at least. So let's get rid of that. And we can hear a funny noise at the end here. That's me pressing stop on the dictaphone, and there's one at the beginning as well. So next up, what you'll have spotted there, actually, this is important. As I delete this, but you'll see that this audio shifts to the left, same as if you delete a word from a sentence on Word or whatever word processor you're using. Excuse me, my chair squeaking as I cross my legs. It butts it up left. Okay, so watch this. Nice. See, same as when we did the big bit. That audio butts up to the left. So there's a way around this. I put my butt back in, haven't I? Oh, but thank you. So let me show you the silence function. This is really, really useful. So you can take something like the but, and you can just turn that into silence. Rather than deleting it and everything moves up to your left, you can just silence it. And you do that by going up here, generate silence. Just agree to that. And now you can see we've got complete silence there. So this is really, really useful for a number of different things. If you've got lots of, if you've got two different microphones, so this is me talking, this next channel below would be my guest talking. I don't want to delete this and then all the audio goes out of sync. That's no fun. So instead, we put a silence in, and it's going to sound like this. It should still sound fine. Show you how to do some really simple editing. Thank you so much for joining us. Not too bad, right? So that's a useful thing to show you how to do. You can also just delete, so you can highlight that end funny noise and delete. At the beginning, if I delete that, then of course everything's going to butt to the left. I don't want that, so I'm going to silence that effect. Generate silence. Okay. It's actually where I over highlighted, it's created an extra section. It's fine, just ignore it. And remember, you can always click on these joining lines to get rid of them. Okay, so we've edited for content. Oh, there was still one more thing I didn't like. I put an in. And funnily enough, if you do this enough, you start to learn what ums look like. I know it sounds silly, but you can start to recognize different shapes because, of course, we make the same shape with our mouth each time we make a noise. So I am 99, maybe even 100%. No, I'd have to go 99, obviously. I think that is an Let's highlight it and listen. Yeah, there we go. I said an That's what I meant. So we don't like that. I'm going to get rid of it. This time I'm just going to hit delete. Because we actually we don't care about, it butting up to the left in this situation. That was a bit too long of a gap. Let's just get rid of that. And now let's listen to our audio. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster test podcast audio. The purpose of this audio is to drop it into Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Cool. I like it. So we've edited for content. All of this I want to keep versus what we originally had. I'll drop it in just for comparison, which was all of that. So that's what we had originally, all of this audio here, and we've chopped it down to just this. Very nice indeed. We're going to get rid of this channel. If you want to get rid of a whole channel, there's a cross button up there. Close it, like a window, right? Same as that. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is try and increase the quality of this audio, because actually, if you look up here, you see how far these lines go to the edge. So I'm talking about the edges in, this edge where my kind of finger is there, and this edge here where that, drag it, the kind of change size cursor is. The audio fills all of these bits, and what that means is it's volume wise and depth and richness. It's gonna sound full and rich, whereas this is weedy. Okay, this is weedy audio, so this sounds full and rich. You're actually hearing this audio, by the way, secondhand. It's coming out of my speakers and back into my microphone, but we're coping with it. Like I said, this is down and dirty editing today. Whereas this one, so this is nice. Go away. This is nice. Lovely, rich. Hi there, and welcome to Weedy. So we're going to fix that. There are 3 things that I like to do. The first is to remove background noise. Now, actually, if you look here, so I recorded without saying, this is probably me taking a breath. You see these tiny little dots here? That is probably me taking a breath in to start speaking here. But I left 5 seconds completely quiet at the beginning. So the reason I did that is so that we can do noise reduction on the background. This is great for if you have a fish tank in the background or something that buzzes. Maybe you're recording out at an event. Okay, so I did this just last week. I was at an event taking this dictaphone around and recording people. Big busy exhibition, loads of background noise. You're never going to get rid of it all when there's a lot of it, but you can get some of it. So what we do is we analyze the background noise here, because this is our resting state. Okay, this is the background noise, which, whilst we're not saying anything, but this background noise still exists here when we are saying something. So what we do is we get this profile. So what this does, we're going to come up here and hit Effect, Noise Reduction, Get Noise Profile. Now I'm going to press this button. It's not going to do anything. You won't notice anything. I won't notice anything. But what it's done, it's listened and analyzed this 5 seconds-ish of audio. Yeah, more like 6 seconds of audio. And it's identified all the frequencies where there's background noise. We can't see it. We know that. We've gone in here. We've visually said, yeah, there's not really anything going on in there. These dots are just right in the middle, which means nothingness. But if there was a bit of background noise, we'd be able to pick it up. Okay, we'd be able to say, right, that's our background noise. Then what you do, this is important, you then need to select the entire audio. And the easiest way to do this is by pressing here, where my mouse is, over here on the left. There we go, big mouse, just to show you. Click here, and you'll see it selected that. If there was more audio over here, then again, clicking this selects all the audio on this channel. I'll get rid of that though. So select, and then we're going to go back to Effect, Noise Reduction. And we're going to hit the OK button. So step 1, get your noise profiles. Just noise, so Audacity knows what to filter out. These settings are great. Like most of the basic settings of Audacity, they're just already there. I'm going to contradict myself in a second, but I'll explain why with the next effect. So when we hit OK, all of this background noise that's being analyzed here is going to be deleted from this audio where I'm actually speaking. You couldn't see anything. I didn't see anything. If you've got a much longer, larger piece of audio, then you'll see it. But just take my word for it, and you will see it on yours, especially if when you look at your a blank section, you only actually need a second or two of background noise to analyze. But my advice is try and record 5 seconds at the beginning of any podcast of silence. So we've removed any background noise, first of all. So any buzzes, hisses, traffic noise, that kind of stuff, hums, they're now gone. The next thing we're going to do is going to make our voice sound a bit more radio. Podcasting, as I keep saying, you're in someone's ear, it's personal, and you want your voice to sound a little bit warmer and bassier than it actually is. Now, look, this doesn't work for everyone. I would say it probably could work for everyone. So I'm not saying there are people with voices out there that this wouldn't work on, but I've been saying is it might not work for you, as in like you might not like the way it makes your voice sound. Maybe you want to keep your voice completely normal. But for me, I like to make my voice and anyone that I work with on podcasting just a little bit bassier. So what we're going to do, we're going to highlight the section that we want to make bassier. In this case, we can just double click to get that, but we could also click this button, click over here again, back up to effects, graphic EQ. Now, this is something that I'm going to not explain in too much depth, but basically your voice is made up of loads and loads of frequencies. All sounds are. So a bass note is going to be mainly made up of these frequencies down the bottom here. Your middle things like voice is here. And your high frequencies like squeaks and triangles, in an orchestra, or, things like hisses, things like that, they're going to be up here in your high range. So all we do, if you imagine I hit flatten here, and I'm going to do it just to show you what it is. If I hit flatten, then all of these different frequencies are going to go back to the middle, and we're just going to, that's exactly what our voice sounds like at the moment. So it won't do anything. What we're going to do is boost our bass frequency. So it's going to make our voice sound a bit bassier. So remember this for me. That's a silly thing to say. I'll remember this for me. So from 500 to 125. So what I'm going to do, you can see this is about a 25% increase. Okay, so if this is 50%, this is 0. We're going to take up to, we're going to move up to 75% from the very base 20 up to 100 frequency. And then we're going to put a gentle incline. I'm going backwards. Incline from 500 to 100 there. So flatten, there we go. So this would just be our normal voice. If I hit OK there, that's my normal voice. It's not going to change my voice at all. So we're going to boost. So we know we were going for about 70%, 75% here. It doesn't matter too much. You don't have to be precise, just kind of drag them up. I mean, I guess they seem to be clicking into place, so we might as well do it properly, I guess. It all looks quite nice. And then around 100, so 100, we're going to start dipping that back down because 500 was our kind of baseline. We're back to normal, aren't we? There. Something like that was where we were. I think it was a little bit friendlier on this side of the curve. Something like that. And maybe this was something like that. Okay, lovely. And I think actually we boosted this very bottom bit, which is unlikely I've got any voice going on down there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit cancel, just so we can listen very carefully to my voice without the EQ and see if you can remember what it's like. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster Test Podcast Audio. Okay. Effect. Graphic EQ stands for equalization. We're going to hit OK. And actually, if I move this out of the way, I'll hit OK and watch the audio itself. This time, you should see a visual change to this audio. Let's go. Nice. You saw that, yeah? If I undo, there that. Great. And then if I redo, okay, undo, redo. Okay, so now let's listen again. Undo, and let's listen. Hi there, and welcome to these. Great. And then redo. Oh, sorry about that. Hi there, and welcome to the 0. Bit bassier, right? Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcast. If I undo. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster Test Podcast. Hi there, and welcome to the. Nice. I'm going to show you very quickly. Apologies, my WhatsApp is going off. Let me just quit that for a second. Not that. We don't want to quit that. Quit WhatsApp. Okay, so I'll show you the extreme just so you can see what that's like. So if we go back to graphic EQ and like chuck these up, so you can go crazy basically. Let's bring all these things up. Let's get a load of these nice and high and see. I'm just worried that you can't necessarily hear the difference to what I'm doing here. So there we go. Let's go all the way, 300, 400. And again, watch my audio. Wow, you can really see the difference there. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcast. That's so bassy, it's distorting. But you can see the difference there. But what we're going for is a subtle increase in. Apologies, I hit the spacebar again. A subtle increase in the quality of my voice, the bassiness of my voice. So there we go. Let's get this done properly again. Apologies, bear with. Just wanted to make sure you could see that it was doing something. So it's a very delicate EQing, adding a bit nicer bass to the sound of my voice. Bear with. That'll do. Just move it so you can see. So that's still raw audio because I've undone everything. There we go. Bit of a boost in the old bass department. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. The second is an action or an effect that we call compression. This is, I mean, EQ and compression are probably the two most common effects that are used in any kind of audio anywhere. What compression does is effectively flatten out your audio. So it's not actually compressing as in squashing it. Sometimes it will increase it. So what you can see if we look at this audio, we've got some peaks. So here, if you look at this bit here, you can see this is my loudest moment when I was recording. And, you know, these kind of bits here, my sound, these kind of bits here, or that. Those are my quietest moments. So what compression will do is gently reduce the peaks and or increase the troughs, let's call it, the quietest moments, so that overall the audio sounds a little bit more balanced. So again, we can show you this visually. Effect, compressor, and again, this time, this is one of the ones I'm not going to change any settings on here at all, unlike the EQ. These are the standard EQ settings. And as we hit OK, watch what it does to the audio over here. There we go. And as you can see, we've now started to get richer, thicker lines. With a bit of EQ and a bit of compression, we've now got a much more healthy looking audio. Let's see if it's more healthy sounding. Hi there, and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster. Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. Pleased with that. So the last thing you can do, say you get to this point and your voice is still too quiet. I'm pretty pleased. I think that's okay. And I will do a test in a second. I'll show you how I'm going to test it. But if you think this is still too quiet compared to your music, then you have an option, or two options technically. Over here, I'm going to shake my mouse again so you can see where I'm looking at. Over in these sections over here, we can see that we've got volume. Okay, so we've got left and right, which is pan. So again, you can re-pan, as I was talking about before. We're not going to touch that. You might want to do that if you've got, if you're doing two people interviewing, you might want to have a bit of a pan left, pan right, create a bit of a audio soundscape for your listeners. But we're not talking about that. We've got a volume button here. It's labeled, as you can see, as it pops up, as gain, but you can think of it as volume. So this won't change the actual audio. So you're not going to see anything visual here, but you can reduce or increase by considerable amounts how loud each channel is. This is, when you know what a mixing desk looks like, like with a DJ or in a recording studio. We've all seen them on TV or maybe even played with them ourselves. This is like the sliders, okay? So the things they push up and down. So when they're, balancing the band that's playing on the other side of that glass, they're not actually changing the volume that the person is playing at, are they? They're just changing the volume which is allowed through to the tape to be recorded. And that's what we're doing here. We're changing that volume which is going to be allowed through to the tape when we export. So, and you will hear it as we hit play. So if you want, you can either increase the volume of your voice like this, or you can reduce the volume of your music, whichever. But I would say if your voice sounds a bit quiet, increase the volume of your voice. I'm going to show you this here. It's not going to sound very good because I think we've kind of nailed it. But even if I go up, well, actually, let's leave it at 0 and have one listen just for comparison. Hi there, and welcome to. So let's go up, say 10 decibels. That is quite a lot, just so you know. Hi there, and welcome. It's so loud, it's distorting, and we don't need to do it. And again, we could go really quiet. Hi there, and welcome. Can't even hear it. 0 to Podcaster test podcast audio. So this is the thing you can do once you've edited everything. You've got, you've done your EQ, your compression, everything's sounding nice. you can start to mess around with the levels, especially if you've got multiple microphones going on. So, plus a bit, minus a bit, come back to 0. You can see in the middle there. So that's plus 0.0. So we're back to where we are. Or, of course, you can bring the volume of your music down like this. Hi there and welcome. But now my voice sounds too loud. So I think we kind of nailed it. Hit the nail on the head there. So the last thing I told you was I'm going to show you how I would test this, and I'm going to do it by this, because as I said, the best way for this to start is if we can get a little bit of overlap. So you now see this line here. We're going to get some audio at the same time as some music at the same time as speaking. Let's give it a go. Hi there and welcome to the 0. That's pretty good, right? Hi there and welcome. It's audible that I say hi there, but it doesn't matter too much because people expect to hear that. They think they're going to know what I'm saying anyway. So they're going to say hello or hi. So that's all good. The one thing I've now spotted, and this again, important, when we did some EQ and some compression, what we did by boosting the sound of all the audio is we boosted the sound of the background noise, which shouldn't be there. And this breath, look at that breath has suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Let's see if we can hear it. It's solo. Yeah, that's not a breath. That's me knocking the microphone or something. So first things first, we don't want to delete it. So we're going to silence it. Generate silence. Enter. So that's now gone. And then what I'm actually now going to do to tidy up again, I'm going to reanalyze that background audio and make sure that anything that I boosted here is deleted from the rest of the podcast. And then we're going to have a look at this funny little noise at the end as well. So we're going to effect, noise reduction, get noise profile. So now we've analyzed that background noise. Select the entire track, effect, noise reduction, and OK. And you can see it's all but disappeared from there. There's a little noise there, but that's fine. Just if you're really worried about it, listen to it. Or if you can't be bothered to listen, just silence it anyway. We know we weren't talking. And then this one at the end, we're just going to delete. Okay, so now we have beautiful podcast. Oh, I accidentally changed the volume there. Okay. Hi there and welcome to the 0 to Podcaster test. Nice, pretty good indeed. Okay, so next up, what do we need? We need our outro music. See, I promised it. Here's the outro music. Told you. So we're going to go and grab that MP3 that we made before from this project. So it's there, it's ready. Every time we need a podcast, do some podcast editing, it's there. Now, of course, it always drops your audio back at the beginning here. So what do we need to do? We need to pick it up and move it up here. Before I do that, I want to show you a couple of cool things that you might find useful as well. So we're putting this bit up here, right? The intro music, we're done with that. So as we start, so maybe this is, one channel of music, one channel of audio. Maybe you've got another 3, co-hosts, and it goes down and down and down, but you want to see everything all at once. There's a really nice little thing you can do. We saw it earlier on this. So you can start to squash these channels. You can always bring them back if you want to go and look at them again, but you can squash them out of the way to hide them so that you can fit more and more channels on one page. So you can see there, you could probably fit about maybe 15 channels on a single page by doing it this way. So that's not good for the audio editing. So when you're in here doing your audio editing, that's not good. But when you're into the editing for kind of, sound, when I say audio, it's not good for content because you want to be able to see those moments when you're speaking, or you want to be able to see those flat faces in your music. Once you're into just, balancing everything, jumping around to test, listen to places like this, then it's a really useful thing. You can squash everything up. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to just show you, we don't need to do that here. We'll just drag these back out again a little bit. So the second thing I want to show you here is that say we had messed around with this gain and we've decided we want this audio at -4. If I just take this outro music and drag it up here, so it goes music, vocals, music, I'm going to have to go and do that again. Now that doesn't sound like a lot of effort, but what if it's a piece of music that we've done some, maybe we've done other things to it. That's not a bad. That's not a good example. Maybe we think we might want to change the audio later on. So maybe we're putting in, and yes, actually, we're going to do this. We're going to put in a sting. Okay, so I'll show you that in a second. But we want all the audio to be the same volume. So what we're going to do is we pick it up off this track with our dragging button, and we're going to pop it up here. So it's now on this same single channel. First of all, delete, save yourself some space, work tidy. And also it's now up here. So if I go like this on the left and change the gain, it's going to change it across the board. So you're just having to do that once. And here's another example of why. To expand on the other thing I wanted to show you, we want to make a sting. So a sting is a little piece of music that we chuck in to break up your podcast episode. Normally it's like 5 seconds long maximum, and it just comes in, and maybe you've asked your guest a question and they're going to answer it, and you don't feel the need to just go straight to react to it or follow up with a question. Just let a bit of awkward silence, and then you're going to cut some nice music in. But we need to make a sting first. So let's go back over here to this piece of work that we were doing. We want to find a 5-second bit using just the end. So let's just see what we've got from around here. I mean, that's lovely. That is it. So, but without that bit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight from there to there, and then let's play it. Nice. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to come here, tracks, add new. What kind of track are we adding? It's a stereo track because there's 2 of them. I'm going to come and I'm going to paste that there. Let's just drag it to the beginning for neatness sake. There we go. Let's drag it to the beginning. It should click. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm going to export that. That's going to be saved. So this, when you export this, save it as intro/outro. We're going to export this and save it as sting. So I've got these both together. All I need to do is mute this. And now when I come and do file, export as MP3, I'm going to call it sting. And we're going to save it. Simple as that. We've got ourselves a new MP3. So now come back out. So by muting this track, it won't get exported. I'm going to come in here. Let's drag and drop our sting. Here it comes. Beautiful. And now we're going to figure out where we're going to put it. Now, of course, we want it on this channel up here. So straight away, drag it up into here so that, because you might have, I literally did some podcast editing yesterday. I think I used 10 stings in a podcast episode. I don't want to be going and changing the volume every single time, 10 times. So all on the same channel for your music. This is Alex's voice. Put all of Alex's voice on one channel if you've done multiple recordings. Make it easy for yourself. Because also then, if you've done 10 recordings of Alex's voice, you just need to do the background removal once, EQ once, compression once. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so I think I left a nice moment for a sting. Let's solo this channel and listen. To drop it into Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. Thank you so much for... That's it, right there in the middle. We're going to cut that. It's cut. Okay, so let's move the outro music just out of the way for now. And here we are. We're splitting that bit of audio out. Chuck our sting there. And then same as before, line up the talking with just the end of that bit of music. And let's hear how that sounds. Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. A little bit close. Really simple editing. Thank you so much for... Nice. Sounding pretty professional. If I was being picky, I'd probably put a little bit of a fade in here. You know, I don't know, maybe something from this bit of audio. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, we can just do a cheat. I wouldn't normally do it this way around. I'd go back and in here and make my sting properly, which I should have done. Or maybe I'd make another sting, call it sting 2. But let's just try and copy that. Let's see, how have we done actually there? Yeah, let's just get that nice and neat. And then this is terrible. I'm totally cheating, but I guess it shows that there are ways around it, right? You know, there's other ways of doing things. So let's bolt these two together. Now there's going to be a funny gap here, so we need to figure that out. We're going to delete from about there, I think. Let's give that a go. Editing. Yeah, so that sounded awful, and we're not going to do it. But yeah, I'd probably have some kind of noise going in there. I'd find it, I'd make it work. But for the purposes of showing you how to edit, we're okay. Simple editing. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, we're on to the last skill. Here we go. Here we have our outro. We're just using the intro. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what we're doing. Let's have a listen to it again. Okay, so we want to overlay that music, but it's going to sound a little bit loud. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Yeah, it's a bit much. It's not quite in the right place. I think I generally try and start outro music in a gap. That tends to sound better, so let's just give that a go. So much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Yeah, so that kind of works, okay, but it's still a bit loud. This bit of audio, let me just highlight. This bit of music is conflicting with my beautiful voice, and I will not have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an effect, the final effect we're going to show you today, and that is going to be a fade. So I'm going to drag all the way. So we know that this is a flat face, right? Flat face of the first beat of the bass drum. So I'm going to grab from there all the way back to here. And then where are we going? Into effects, our lovely effects drawer. And you've got something called a fade in. You've also got a fade out. That's useful, good to know. Bear that in mind, but we're not using that today. Fade in and watch what happens to the audio in the background. Easy, quiet to loud. Let's see how that sounds now. For joining us, really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. That's nice. It's so nice, I think we might even be able to get away with bringing it a bit closer. Let's try like this. Us, really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Actually, how close can we get? Can we get like, this could be nice. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Yeah, that's close. That's like when they talk about the kind of hitting the vocal. You probably heard that phrase. They talk about it in radio sometimes, which is where they manage to somehow talk exactly up to the point of the drop. These days, by the way, spoiler alert, they have a countdown. It's literally a visual. You've got 5, 4, 3 seconds left before the vocal starts. In the good old days, we had to do it by ear. We had to just know the song. Yeah, I kind of like that. It's not quite right, so I'm going to drag it back a little bit because it was still a bit noisy here, still a bit clashy. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Yeah, that's nice actually. And these are the kind of things you need to listen for. That little fricker from the DJ scratch, the vinyl scratch, starts just after I finish talking here. So it goes, here's the outro music, fricker, and then into the drop. So I like that. Let's listen again. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. I love it. Well, there we go. We made a podcast, a 1 minute, a 55-second podcast. Hopefully that's everything you need to know for your editing. As I said before, we know how to export, file, export. We should save. We should save as often as possible, obviously. Export as MP3. Name it test podcast. Choose your location. I'd also always go insane quality here, just the best you can do. Why not? We're going in people's ears, remember? Hit save. it's going to be a warning. Your tracks will be mixed down and exported as one stereo file. It's great. So what that means is that if we do that and then we bring it back into Audacity, it's just going to be one of these tracks again, still left and right, but one of these tracks. That's fine because we've got the original Audacity project if we want to go back and make any changes. Hit OK, make sure none of that happens. Then you can tell it took a few seconds that time. And actually, why not? Let's do it again. Here is our test podcast in all its glory, one single track. Let's give it a final listen. I really hope that was everything you need to know about how to edit on Audacity. Final tip, YouTube it. Audacity's been around for ages, as in decades. Maybe not decades, decade and a half. I don't know. It's super old. There's loads and loads of advice out and on there on YouTube. So if you get stuck, hit up YouTube. If you still get stuck, hit up me and we'll try and fix something for you. But I will leave you just so that you can skip. I won't say anything. I'll say goodbye at the end of this, but you can leave now if you've had enough of my voice and this music, this drab catwalk music. You may leave now, or let's listen to our podcast episode. Thanks. Hi there, and welcome to the Zero to Podcaster test podcast audio. The purpose of this audio is to drop it into Audacity and show you how to do some really simple editing. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. Here's the outro music. Not bad, eh? Not bad. I don't love that bit. Don't love that bit. That stings a bit harsh, but we'd soften that up. We're done. Anyway, thank you so much. Lesson over. Sorry it was a bit of a long one, but that's audio editing. Have fun, get cracking, and see you in the next lesson.